Hey, what's going on, everybody? Make sure you go check out the YouTube membership tiers. World Champ level, Freak Maniac, Raz. We're going to give him credit for another month of Grand Slam here, even though they're not Grand Slams anymore. Times are tough. I get it. But anyway, thank you so much for the support you have been doing at that Grand Slam Revel. We appreciate the hell out of you, Raz. But make sure you go check out our Patreons as well as the merchandise page. So I just uploaded a whole bunch of new logos to TeePublic. The Teespring side, there's basketball shorts and a lot of cool things. I will be putting some logos up there here and there to like kind of give people opportunities to buy them in different styles of merchandise. But I'm eventually going to work back to get TeePublic into all of the logos that are available there. So if you're interested and you want some of those old classic logos, they will be on the TeePublic side. Just give me a couple days because you're only allowed to upload so many at a time. But YouTube memberships, Patreon, subscribing on social media, our super chats or donations on the YouTube all help this channel grow and keep being successful. We're going to start off with ABJ Podcast Presents Tornado Tag episode 145, WWE Slamboree 1994. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. Let's get this one started. We'll see you soon. ABJ and BP on the other side. What's going on, everybody? We are back. Happy Pride, BP. It's Pride Month.
It is.
Happy Pride, everybody. Celebrating. We are a safe place podcast. So if your friends and family don't accept you, we sure goddamn do on this side of the platform. So everyone, happy Pride. I've been going to some Pride events the past couple of days, BP. Have you got a chance to attend anything?
I have not, no.
It's been fun. School County Pride was at the School County Fairgrounds. We went to that this weekend, and then we went to a punk rock drag show, which was
nice.
Unbelievable. It was awesome. Trixie Valentine went out there that I got to have on the podcast and absolutely tore the place apart, killed it, and it was just really fun. It was really, really fun, and I don't know, more to come. I'll be this month. So if you know any cool events, let me know. We'll try our best to make them. If you're in your area, try to find a local Pride event and just go show some love and support that cause. Also, this month, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month
and mental health.
Just check on your friends. Everyone needs a little love, and it shouldn't just be a month to celebrate. You should be showing love to everybody all year round. But we're gonna showcase that this month. But yeah, BP, what have you been up to, man?
Not a whole lot. I've been keeping busy with some PPW stuff, AXW stuff, keeping my toes in the water. My roles at PPW keep me busy all month long, so it's been fun. I think, have we done a show since the last time you and I shared the commentary table with New Era? That was a lot of fun too.
I don't think we have. New Era was a lot of fun. A lot of Office references. That show has not been posted yet. They're still working on the first show. Once the first one's loaded, I'll let you guys know. And the second one, third one will be this Saturday, same day as PPW. So if you're gonna go head out to PPW, go support PP, or you can come hang out with me at New Era for that show.
I will actually be one of the hosts of the new pregame show. We have a new pregame show live for the. If you've never been to PPW, it's at a farmer's market. It's the Slatington Expo Center is a venue within a farmer's market. And the last month we noticed there's this big stage out front. We're like, why don't we just do like a pregame show at the venue just for the people there's always a big crowd waiting to come in, and people walk by and maybe one or two of them pick up a ticket or something. So it's going to be myself. It's going to be Johnny St. Clair, EJ Kuiper. We're going to have a little pregame show. It's going to be a throwback to, and this pay-per-view made me think of it because this was the golden age of this. Those shows that would come on a half hour before on the pay-per-view channel that just ran down the pay-per-view. That's kind of the spirit of what we're going to be doing here, or what they do now with Sam Roberts, all those people, and CM Punk's on them a lot, and Big E. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great show. Fuego del Sol's going to be there. 5 big title matches. It's going to be a great night.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of jump into this here, but before we do that, I always want to give a quick shout out to some content that's out. So if you guys want to check out some previous content that's available now, you can check out our Terminator 2 episode, Judgment Day, with myself and Sonny Defarge. That one was a lot of fun on the Not Cool in High School side of things. Rojas, Catchpoint student, was just on the ABJ podcast, filled in last minute. If you get a chance to listen to that, and my microphones are not properly set up, that's because I fucked up and I StreamYard flip-flopped them on me, and I did the whole microphone through my laptop mic. So even 6 years in the game, we're still making that mistake. And then Terrifier 2 with Courtney just dropped, which was a lot of fun. So the movie reviews are coming along, and I'm really, really enjoying it. Future episodes that'll be this Wednesday, the 12th, will be with Pedro L. Vasquez. He's doing a independent film director who's doing a movie or docuseries or documentary. We'll kind of dive more into it, but it kind of covers the story of an independent wrestler coming from his early stages on and going through his career and the ups and downs he goes through. Yeah, and then we have another movie review with myself and Dante. We're going to be doing Abigail, and then to close out the month, Miss Misfit will be on the podcast. Drag monster herself. Themselves, that they're going to be promoting their show, the Say Gay Drag Brunch in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and learn a lot more about them as a performer as well. So mixing it up, a lot of drag performers on the podcast, and I got to be honest, BP, I fucking love it. I love it, man. It's so pro wrestling. They have a gimmick, they have a performance, they have a look, they have a style. Some of them are heels. They're all heels. They're all catty, and they all hate each other. But like in the same room, they love each other. You know what I mean? It's a crazy fun scene, and the more I learn about it, the more I fall in love with it. If you're a pro wrestling fan, you should just probably go check out drag shows in your area, because I guarantee you'll have a good time. They take bumps. There's bumps happening. There's music. There's cool music. There's everything you need in drag performances. And
bumps and heels. That's gonna be tough.
Yeah. They do it. I seen it.
That was the old Ginger Rogers thing. Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire, I think so. Yeah, but it's like, well, I can do everything he do. I can do everything he does, but backwards and in heels.
Yes, and I got to talk to some Pennsylvania state representatives on the Democratic Party at Pride and sent them my information. So maybe I have a little bit of a political episode here or there. And then I talked to some more drag performers at Pride. I talked to some more artists and some more creativity people. BP, I re-pierced my ear at Pride this year.
Awesome.
I can't wear it on camera because of headphones, but your boy stuck a little needle through his ear, and I got a cracker earring.
All right.
Because why not? It's a funny earring. I got a cracker earring. So if you see me, BP, rocking a single earring, just mind your business. That's what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? I'm living my life. I might pierce the other one, but I think the one ear is kind of funny or kind of cool. I don't know. I'm trying something new out, you know? I kind of like pushing boundaries. I'm breaking social norms. There's things I've always wanted to try, but I always was told if you do that, it's gay. I'm sexual. I'm comfortable with my sexuality as a straight white man. I think I can break barriers and do things. And if someone feels comfortable wearing things that maybe are deemed feminine, go fuck yourself. I'm a good person. I can do what I want. And I think that's one thing I'm learning with Pride in the community is you can be who you are, regardless of what social standards and social norms tell you. And that goes for everybody. That's your little haiku of the day, or your little
we need that the more you know graphic.
Yeah, the more you know. Be as gay as you want, or as straight with some, cool fashion for you. You know what I mean? Who cares what people think or say? I'm rocking earrings. Suck it, world.
Good message.
Suck it, Republicans. I don't know what to say there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it was at a Pride event, I don't think you have to stipulate that you met some politicians from the Democratic Party.
Yeah, very true.
I don't think we needed that clarification.
We got lost on the way there and took the wrong turn and had to go like up this weird mountain, and every house had their Trump flags on it. Not trying to make a political thing here, but it is what it is. And we pulled over. Lily's in the front seat, full Pride mode, like face paint, makeup. Sorry, not face paint. Got a little wrestling there. Full Pride outfit. I'm rocking a Pride shirt. Like we're ready to go. And guys like, what are you looking for? I'm like, can you just help us get to the School County Fairgrounds? We've passed the big sign, didn't even know it existed. And he's like, what's going on down there? And he spits on the ground. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I was just like,
you ain't from around here.
Yeah.
And actually,
like,
I am.
He's like, Pride event. I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna do. You're gonna turn around. You're gonna go right back to where you came from. Make a left. It should be right down there. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
Get on now. I was like, he wasn't a dick, but you could tell he was not happy we were going to a Pride show.
Which is like nobody's making you go to it. Like,
yeah. Oh, there was definitely a Lily said I was waiting to hear banjos. They were in the
Yeah.
background. It was one of those things where we pulled away in the house, like there was people at the house talking to him from the road and like, what they want? And he's like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like,
hey, just going to Pride.
yeah. And it's crazy because we live in Pennsylvania, but there's certain parts of Pennsylvania that think they're in the South.
No, this is very much what they would call Pennsyltucky.
Yeah, we have a lot of Pennsyltucky. Yeah.
There is an old political strategist, James Carville, explained Pennsylvania as Philadelphia and Pittsburgh with Alabama in between.
That's a great analogy. Yikes. All right. That's enough political talk. We can do off for days. BP, let's get into Slamboree 1994.
Speaking of Philadelphia.
Yes.
Speaking of Philadelphia. This is my college show, and it's a very personal one for me. It was 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago last month, May, I believe, like 22nd. And this is the first pay-per-view I was ever at live. Like, I was in the building. I was in the building for Slamboree 94 at the old Philadelphia Civic Center. May it rest in peace.
How does it stack up for you for your first ever show? Like,
I love
back on it.
It's much better than the second pay-per-view I was at. That's for sure.
Which we will be covering. So.
Oh no! Why did I even agree to that? Why did I even agree?
You know what we have to do now? We have to go back and recover my pay-per-view that I went to this year before I leave.
Yeah,
we got to go back and cover All In last year at Wembley.
Well, we did cover one of the other pay-per-views that was at earlier this year, which was WrestleMania 15. Yeah. But yeah, so this was the first one, and it wasn't my first. It was actually my first WCW show because I did go to a show when I was very young, but it was still Jim Crockett Promotions. It was still, they hadn't sold to Turner yet. It was still, Crockett at that point. But yeah, this is a fun show. This is an interesting show. And other than the personal significance for me, this is a very historically significant show. This is the end of an era. This is the final WCW pay-per-view before... Let me tell you something, dude. He's name dropped quite a few times on the show. Within a few weeks after this, they officially signed Hulk Hogan. And the next pay-per-view they do is Bash at the Beach. And it's Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair for the WCW title.
Yeah. And now the cool thing about this is if you've been following our podcast and watching for a while, we covered a lot of the Hall of Fame class in some of these episodes and kind of put you on par to get you. BP has a little bit of strategy here. If you can kind of see BP's mind weave through episode to episode, because I kind of give that whole soul to that role to BP. We do have some people who suggest some stuff and we do weave it in there, but it's kind of cool to see how we kind of do that. But Slamboree 94, a Legends reunion, was a second Slamboree wrestling pay-per-view produced by World Championship Wrestling. It took place May 22nd, 1994 at the Philadelphia Civic Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In 2014, that event was made available on streaming for the first time on the WWE Network. Prior to Slamboree, WWE approached Eastern Championship Wrestling about cross promotions with ECW When Worlds Collide event, which was scheduled to take place in Philadelphia on May 14th, 1994. The two promotions agreed the talent would exchange. The WCW wrestlers would be Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton would appear at Worlds Collide. Then WCW would provide Terry Funk, who would appear at Slamboree. Some of the storylines going into this is what we have here. Sorry, that was a dumb line. I should have never read that. Attendance 4,000 people, including BP. The taglines were Legends Reunion, a night with the classics, one ring, one moment, one mega event. We had a commentary team of Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, and Gordon Sully for the Legends match. Interviewers were Gene Okerlund. Gordon Sully. What did I say, Greg? I'm sorry. Gordon
Sully.
Sully.
They're missing one. Jesse Ventura was on commentary for a little bit.
Yeah, he was. Interviewers were Gene Okerlund and Jesse Ventura. Ring announcer Gary Michael Capetta and Michael Buffer, not Bruce.
Yeah, not
referees
Bruce.
Randy Anderson and Nick Patrick on the calls that day. We had 8 matches. One of them we will not cover because it was a dark match. We had pretty wonderful Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma defeating the Armstrongs, Brad and Brian, in a tag team match. And for a dark match, we're given 10 minutes. BP.
Time out. So are you aware of who Brian Armstrong is?
Brian Armstrong.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know who he was?
Oh, that's the Road Dogg. Yeah. Yeah. All right. There you go. And Brad is. Do I know who Brad? I don't know who Brad is.
Brad Armstrong is pretty much just Brad Armstrong. Brad Armstrong is in a meme now because there's pictures of him doing like interviews and stuff from the 80s on the old mothership. And he looks just like Kenny Omega. He looks dead like Kenny Omega.
He's got a great head of hair.
Brad Armstrong was an incredible wrestler. He didn't really have the charisma of his brother. Well, there are a few Armstrong brothers. There's Brad. Brad was probably the best wrestler of the group. He was just always known as a good hand. They did try to do some gimmicks with him just to kind of put some flash on him. He was like the Candyman, Brad Armstrong, for a little bit. He was Arachnaman, which was like a knockoff Spider-Man, and it was like a purple and yellow suit instead of blue and red. He was much later. He was Fantasia and later Bad Street with the Freebirds, and then much later they just had him completely rip off his brother, and he was called Buzzkill at the very end of WCW, and unfortunately he has passed away. He had a few other brothers. Scott Armstrong was a referee for a long while in WWF, and then Steve Armstrong was part of the Young Pistols, and he was very, very briefly in WWF as Lance Cassidy. We could do a whole episode on the Armstrongs. That's actually a good idea someday.
Yeah, maybe. We'll get to the lineup for the month when we get towards the end here. What did you think of the dark match? If you remember, are you recalling it?
It was 30 years ago, so I don't remember a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
It was pretty short, probably a lot of heat. Pretty Wonderful was, not to spoil something later, but Pretty Wonderful was actually. This was the era of the marathon tapings in Disney. If anybody just recently watched the Who Killed WCW first episode on Vice, Eric Bischoff talks about how they moved tapings to Disney. And when they did the tapings in Disney, they would tape like 3 or 4 months of TV all at once. They would just do marathon tapings over a weekend. And so shortly after this, Roma and Paul Orndorff, Pretty Wonderful, they win the WCW tag team titles. And they were actually doing matches on these tapings with the tag team titles before the team they beat for the titles even won them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so it was one of those. Like, that happened quite a bit back then. Like, there's a famous one with the Fabulous Freebirds lost the WCW tag team titles before they won them. So things like that happen quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit, but they've happened a few times.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're going to start out the show with the one of 2 Hall of Fame bits.
Well, these aren't the Hall of Famers. These are just the legends that are there. They brought in legends. They did the legends thing for the first 3 years of Slamboree, 93, 94, 95. 93 had a few more legends matches, I think. But this one, it's just like, there's all these legends. I think they did like almost like a mini convention. I didn't go to it, but they did like a convention type thing or a banquet like the night before.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a cavalcade of legends coming out at first. And then a few of them make it into the Hall of Fame later that night.
Yeah. Any legends when you were a young BP in attendance you were popping over?
Not particularly. Like now I go back and like, oh my god, I was in the same building as the Crusher. That's so cool.
Yeah, he was awesome.
The Crusher's great.
I actually want to seek out old Crusher stuff because I love his promos. He's good. You can tell he's a character. Like, you don't want to go down and have, you said you want 1 pint. We're gonna have about a dozen. Like,
we're gonna have
polka. Yeah,
we're gonna have a dozen beers. We're gonna dance with the dollies all night long, about 250 pounds. Oh, he's the best.
He was awesome. He's so good.
He was the prototype for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, totally. Well, funny you should say that because our first match is going to be stunned. Oh, God.
Before our first match, Nick Bockwinkel calls out Sting. So the main event for this was originally supposed to be Vader against Rick Rude. They were actually probably going to turn Rick Rude babyface, which would have been interesting. Mm-hmm. But a few days before this match is the match where Rick Rude breaks his back. It was the match that made him retire. And so in that match, Rude defeats Sting for the WCW International title, which is the big gold belt. It was a belt that it's a long story. They had the NWA title for a while, and that was the NWA title. And then when Rick Rude first won it, the NWA didn't approve the title change, so they pulled their name out of it. And then, long story short, it becomes the international title, and it's basically treated like a second world title. So Nick Bockwinkel, who is the commissioner of WCW, he wants to hand Sting the belt, but Sting's like, no, I'm going to earn it in the ring. So tonight when I wrestle Vader, let's make it for the title. That's our opening, and now we have our opening match.
Yeah, so Stunning Steve Austin's going to take on Johnny B. Bad. You may know him as in the WWE side of things as Mark Marrow. This match went 16 minutes, 12 seconds. It was good, man. So Stunning Steve Austin shows, he's not just that brawler type. He can get down. Yeah. He's very, very talented. Mark Marrow seems to be, kind of going forward from this part. He always seems to be the opening match in every WCW pay-per-view. He's like the opening match guy. He has a great look, great hair, great everything. Like he's flashy. The big thing that stood out for me in this match was the top rope sunset flip. Like
that was Johnny B. Bad's finish. Well, it was that, and then he would do, because his whole gimmick was he looked like Little Richard. That was literally the gimmick. I loved his
Tutti Frutti Punch or whatever.
He would call it the Tutti Frutti Punch or the Kiss that don't miss. It was just it was a KO punch, because Mark Marrow was legitimately a Golden Gloves boxer, and then they turned him into Johnny B. Bad because he literally looked like Little Richard, which he really played into that, and I love that he
didn't he do a public a speech in Pottsville?
His thing now is he's a motivational speaker, and I guess he did an assembly at Pottsville High School. I
wonder what it would take to get him on the podcast. You think we can get him on, have a tornado tag interview with me and you interviewing?
Probably take some of this.
I'll throw him a couple bucks. I'll throw Mark Marrow a couple bucks.
But no, Mark Marrow is very much an institution in the opening matches here. He's on the upswing here. He started as a heel. That didn't last very long. Now he's a baby face. But I love his opening music. A lot of the songs on this are off the Slam Jam album, which was an album they put out in the early 90s. And one of the lines is his music starts, "Here comes Johnny B. Bad. You don't want to make him mad. He's as pretty as a picture. He looks just like Little Richard." It's very out in front. And I also love that Steve Austin on the back of his trunks. This match is for the United States title, which is cosmetically my favorite WCW title.
Yeah.
It says U.S. champ on the back of Austin's trunks, in case you didn't remember or know.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. So overall, anything that stood out for you in this match that you enjoyed?
I very much enjoyed it. I took this down on my notes. Tony Schiavone saying this is the greatest wrestling city in the world. Correct. 500 points to Tony Schiavone. Heenan says this town, they boo the Easter Bunny. Their biggest claim to fame is a bell, and it's broken. So Bobby Heenan's in rare form here. Sensuous Sherry is at ringside. This is Sherry's debut in WCW.
Yeah.
She had left WWF in 1993. She had been in ECW for a little bit, but she is going to wind up being linked to Ric Flair here very shortly. The crowd is getting on Colonel Parker. Colonel Parker is managing Steve Austin. They're chanting KFC at him and Kmart suit. And so there is a rest hold. I think Austin puts Johnny B. Bad in a chin lock, and the crowd starts chanting, "We're not hostile," which really puts us in a time and place. There was a thing that happened around this time where Philadelphia was named by some research thing the most hostile city in hostile, not like a youth, like a hostel you go to stay at.
Yeah.
They said it was the most hostile city in the country, and Heenan says, "Of course they're hostile. This is the only place where they strip search you before you come in. Okerlund's got to stop doing that." So the crowd really gets into the finish here. Austin kills a comeback with a thumb to the eye, suplex into a really sloppy pin for the 3, and then Johnny B. Bad gets his heat back with a knockout punch.
Yeah, the entire match was good. The ending kind of fell flat on it. I really liked it. I think it's a hot start. Like, I gave it 3.5.
Yeah, I don't do star ratings, but it was a fun opener. It was. And you're right. Johnny B. Bad was pretty much in almost every opening match.
I think every pay-per-view I've watched from here on out, trying to go back and rewatch WCW, it's Johnny B. Bad or Diamond Dallas Page.
And a lot of times it's Johnny B. Bad against Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
Especially when 100%. Later this year, Johnny B. Bad wins the TV title, and then it's just, him in TV title matches as your opening thing for a while.
Now anything between the matches you want to cover?
Yes. So hotline plug. Gene Okerlund's out there to plug his hotline, and they keep bringing this up. Should Cactus Jack be banned from pro wrestling? And anytime they mention that, the crowd just boos because they love Cactus Jack in Philadelphia. Like, he hadn't started in ECW yet, but that was the style of wrestler they loved. And he did wrestle a bit in TWA, which was ECW before there was an ECW. It was like the forerunner of it. And then you had Wahoo McDaniel and Ernie Ladd with Okerlund. And there's a pre-recorded message with Dusty Rhodes. He's in Hollywood. That plays into an angle. If anybody had watched, because I know Cody Rhodes really put this over, a few months after this, I think it was in August, Dusty does this promo with Dustin Rhodes called where it's like, when you follow behind, the view never changes. Like that Hollywood promo was setting up that Dustin Rhodes is like fighting this battle on all fronts, and Dusty's not there for him.
I got beard mead.
There you go.
She was probably counting a row, so she didn't see it right away. But she's painting her boots.
Now we have our next match.
I will say this: when it comes to my commentary, two of the people I pull from the most. I try to pull a little bit of I don't try to pull Pat McAfee. That's kind of the energy I give regardless. You know what I mean? I'm kind of, if I had to say I'm similar to something, but when I do the heel thing and I kind of talk shit, I definitely lean into my Bobby Heenan, and I definitely lean into my Jesse Ventura. But I love how, like, when Bobby was on commentary, he was part of the show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you try to do what Bobby does on the independent scene, you get criticized for you're trying to make it about yourself and da da da. And I get that a lot, and a lot of people talk shit about it. But then also, like, some wrestlers lean into it. Like Wahoo McDaniel's doing his promo, he's like, you said that I'm selling
the
blankets.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But that made it exciting. Like when a wrestler interacts with the talent or the commentary guy and they hate him, and then Bobby's like, oh, and then Terry Funk comes by and he's like, I always liked you. Like,
well, Bobby was also probably legitimately nervous because he had a surgically repaired neck. Like, he infamously, a few years after this, cursed on live TV because Pillman grabbed him and nobody was supposed to touch Bobby because he had a really bad neck.
Yeah. And that's why I lean into that. Like, that's if I had a goal of what I want to be in commentary, it's that position. Like, I want to talk shit. I want the wrestlers to respond to it. Like, the only, like, Ricky gave me that the best, like how me and Ricky had those bits like that made me feel like I wasn't just a guy who showed up, sat on commentary, nobody cared about, because the talent worked with me. And I got really self-conscious about it, and I got away from it for a long time because I was told I was being selfish and making it about myself. And I was like, fuck that, dude. I travel just as long as you do. And no offense, I work harder than you. Like, I'm working fucking a 2-hour show without a break and taking a piss. Like, you out for 8 minutes and you're doing crazy shit in 8 minutes. But like, while you're in the back chilling, I'm still working out there. You know what I mean? So like, I'm entitled to just as much on commentary. Like, I don't know. I kind of let people get in my head a little bit when it came to my commentary. And I feel like I'm kind of breaking back out of that and just having fun with it again.
Yeah, no, it's always best when you're having fun. It's
absolutely
always best when you're having fun with it.
Our next match, speaking of Terry Funk's going to take on Tully Blanchard.
Yep. Who's coming out to Chris Jericho's original WCW music, which he hated. He hated that music.
Yeah.
I think he called it Sports Highlights 42 or something like that. He just thought it sounded like a clip, like a highlight reel for sports.
Yeah. This match is going to get 7 minutes and 15 seconds of Terry Funk just... how much of this is Terry Funk being Terry Funk, or how much do you think is Terry Funk not giving a shit because he doesn't have to come back?
Oh, he came back. Terry Funk was just going wild here. Terry Funk was just going wild here, but Terry Funk is actually going to be around for he's going to be around for about, this was May. He's going to be around for about 4 months.
Do you think they worked that out before tonight?
Yeah, because there's stuff they build to. We'll get to it in the later match, but there's stuff they're building to that actually is a launching point for
they cashed in, man. They got an opportunity to get Terry Funk on their show by doing this trade-off, and they gave Terry Funk something to sink his teeth into, and he went for it. You know what I mean? Like, who was the guy in the front row he kept going to?
Hat Guy.
That's Hat
John
Guy?
the Hat Guy, yeah.
Okay, because he played into him hard, and then beat the shit out of the Hat a little bit at the end. I'm kind of jumping the gun, but the one thing that stood out to me in this one is that I'm so happy they botched it, because if they would have went through with it, it would have terrified the fuck out of me. The top rope DDT into a chair.
I'm sure so Terry's done that somewhere. Blanchard's not going to do that though.
Yeah, I'm so happy that it got canceled. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, this is like the tail end of Tully as an in-ring wrestler. He had done some local stuff. His last like major national run was with the Brainbusters in WWF, and they left the WWF in 1990, I want to say, late 90, and he was supposed to come back to WCW with Arn, but he failed a drug test. Yeah. So Tully didn't really wrestle a whole lot after that. he did a little run in ECW, I think before this with Shane Douglas, or it might have been after this. And then this one match that I think they did a Broadway. They did an hour draw, and the crowd just crapped all over to the point where everybody got up, turned their chairs around, and turned their backs to the match.
Oh,
Which is the ultimate like fan thing. Like that is the ultimate fans voicing their
what city was that in?
Philly. It was ECW.
Yeah, Philly.
Like, yeah,
that's classic.
And you get your first "We Want Blood" chant in this match. Huge ECW chants for Terry Funk.
What did Bobby say they were saying?
I forget.
He said they were saying something else. He goes, "That's not what they're saying."
I know it was Gordon Soley. This was an odd pairing. It was Gordon Soley. Oh no, that was later. I think that was later. It was during the Bunkhouse Buck Dustin Rhodes match. But yeah, Gordon Soley and Bobby Heenan's a little bit of a tricky team, just because Soley is he is the dean of wrestling broadcasters. He is. Jim Ross has probably taken his title, but if he was the kind of go-to answer, if you said who's the greatest wrestling announcer of all time, like you might get a few people to say Lance Russell. Nowadays, most people probably say Jim Ross, but for a while it was Gordon Soley.
Yeah. When you listen to this pay-per-view, how I kind of said, like, I lean on this for my commentary style. Like, I'm going to ask you who you lean on, but before you answer that, I kind of want you to say, like, Paul Bowe.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of Paul Bowe from this show, from one guy in particular. And I feel like they're very similar, but like Paul Bowe is also very chameleon-like, that he could open up more depending on who he's worked with. I get a lot of Tony Schiavone in this pay-per-view of like Paul Bowe.
Oh yeah. It is, and I try to do this to a degree too, because I usually wind up in that play-by-play role.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of being the point guard. It's kind of being the person that's going to distribute the reps and kind of distribute the pacing of the story and making sure you're hitting a good balance of calling the action and telling the story of the match. And I've been told, the person I've been told I sound like more than anybody is Excalibur, but I don't try to base myself on anybody. Like, my whole thing with commentary is if I don't know what to do, I just call it as a shoot. I just call it like it's a real thing. I call it like I was calling a football game. Yeah. And some of it, there's a little bit of Monsoon in there, just because Monsoon was like my formative. Yeah. This is who I think of when I think of a commentator. But I don't. I get some Schiavone from you. I get a lot of Gorilla from you. Just because we very heavily lean on that era of this commentary style. But I think that's what we kind of do a lot too, is where we do the calling it as we see it. And I think that we do that first and foremost, and then do the funny gimmick stuff secondary, if that makes sense. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It depends on your role. If you're the color commentator, make the jokes. But if you're I don't want to say the lead announcer, but if you're the play-by-play announcer, if you're the point guard, you're basically the narrator of the show. And I try to challenge that as much as possible when I work with somebody. As the color guy, I try to disrupt a little bit to challenge my play-by-play. And I love how you like how Gorilla did. Like, he's like, would you knock it out? Like I'm trying to focus here, and you know what I mean? Like, or there's that banter, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna kind of say it here early, but like a lot of the show at Scranton for New Era, I was throwing in Office references the whole time. And like towards the end, I was like, I kind of like to put a note down like BP. At first I said, set me up for That's What She Said. And that's cheating, right? I should have probably never said the note. But as soon as BP set me up, I didn't take it. And you looked at me like, what the fuck, man? And then I wrote the note, I'm going to set you up. Because I think it would have been funnier if the whole show I was doing office, and then you hit That's What She Said. Yeah. And I think it was funny. Like, it's always a good laugh when the straight man gets a joke in. Like, you can't do it all the time, but it's always. Yeah, I thought it was very fitting for that show. Because it even got to the point where like Luca was doing heel and I was breaking him. Like, us together were breaking him, which was a joy. Like, I don't know. I really, really study old school commentary because I think that it was at its peak. I mean, I think we do today in this day and age still have good commentary, but this is like the golden age for me. Like, I love this. Yeah. Schiavone was very good here, and Heenan and Ventura were very good here. Solely he's lost a little speed off his fastball at this point, but it was the Legends match and it was a good place for him.
Agreed. I didn't hate him on commentary whatsoever. He had a really cool. He had like a Howard Corset voice, like, and here we are. Like it was very like old boxy.
Yeah. Well, he's like they would even call him the dean of wrestling announcers. Sully was he was the voice of championship wrestling from Florida. He did a lot of Georgia championship wrestling. He was the last guy that would say suplex instead of suplex because that's how they used to say it. It came from French, and it would, like literally they would say suplex, and he was the last guy to pronounce it like that.
Yeah. So anything else with Terry and Tully before we move on? And this one ends in a DQ.
Double DQ. Yep. Double DQ. Yep. Just throw the match out. It was fun for what it was. Like Tully was not Tully Blanchard of the 80s. Terry Funk was a little more working regularly. So he did a lot of the driving in this match. And it was fun. Terry Funk matches, most of them are great. But they're always interesting. Like Terry Funk is just such a fascinating performer that he's going to do something entertaining.
And it's kind of crazy because in the very beginning of the show, to kind of go back to that Hall of Fame kind of Legends introduction, he's announced as the legend and he no-sells it. He doesn't come out.
It doesn't come out. Yeah.
And it was kind of like, it doesn't seem like it was planned. Because even Gene Okerlund's like, wait a second, that's not like, he kind of was reading the card and then looked up and Terry wasn't there. And the next guy came out and he's like, he had to throw it audible. But we're gonna get a really good Terry Funk promo later on in the show that answers why. And this is where Terry is just why Terry is one of the goats. Oh, he gets the microphone.
He's great. And then, but before that, we get a Ric Flair promo in a Hawaiian shirt, and this is babyface Ric Flair, which you didn't get a whole lot. Ric Flair always preferred to be a heel, but he was a babyface when he came back in 1993. He was a babyface, and this is the end of his run as a babyface because when Hogan comes in, he flips. And when Hogan comes in, he flips heel, and they do Hogan versus Flair.
Yeah. So our next matchup.
Oh, I love this.
Larry Zbyszko versus Lord Steven
Regal.
Regal.
With Sir William.
And there's one thing I want to call out for camera on this one. They zoom in on a sign that says WWE stinks, WCW's better, or something corny. And they zoom out. And it's just dead center camera of Vlad, the WWE super fan.
I had my notes, Vlad sighting. Yeah, Vlad is there.
But they did a whole WWE and zoom out and show their #1 fan behind the sign. Like, if that wasn't...
Now, to be clear, Vlad wasn't holding the sign, but he was near it.
But he was used. He was used as a shot. Yeah, they're like, that's your boy. And he's sitting right in front of this. We are going to cash in on this so much on production.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to give the context of this match, at this point, Zbyszko is pretty much retired. Yeah. He had a small babyface run after the Dangerous Alliance in '92, but he had pretty much moved to an announcer position. And he winds up getting into this kind of dust up with Lord Steven Regal. And this is a non-title match. Regal is a TV champion, but this is a non-title match.
Yeah. Anything move wise or anything in this? I mean, this is just a classic.
Yeah, it's very mat based. It's very old school wrestling, grappling, hold for hold. But and this is another one. Like I said, it was weird how Ric Flair was a babyface. You almost never, until up to this point, you almost never saw babyface Larry Zbyszko. He had a small run after he got kicked out of the Dangerous Alliance, but from like his AWA run, most of his WCW run, since he turned on Bruno in Hamburg, he was pretty much exclusively a heel. And I know it was in Hamburg because Larry Zbyszko told me it was in Hamburg.
Yeah.
In
Hamburg, legends out there trying to take away Hamburg's history.
Well, I always read it was in Allentown because they would film some TV in Allentown, some TV in Hamburg. And Larry's like, no, it was Hamburg. And then you look at the chairs and like, yeah, those are the Hamburg chairs.
Oh, it's not. Oh, he's sitting in it.
Yeah. I may have one across the room from me, but it's very weird to see Larry as a babyface because he's typically a heel. And the thing Larry Zbyszko was always known for, to the point where people got annoyed by it, is Larry Zbyszko was the king of stalling, the king of just going to lock up and then he doesn't. He walks around the ring, he primps, he argues with the crowd. Like you could go 10 minutes into a Larry Zbyszko match and they haven't even touched yet.
And Regal's doing that to him in the beginning.
And that's exactly what Regal does to Zbyszko in this match. and Zbyszko or Regal's facial expressions, just the disgust he registers on his face, is incredible. Lord Steven Regal is the best. Watch your Lord Steven Regal matches, and this one was a great one. So Zbyszko counters a double underhook suplex and lands on Regal for the pin. This leads to the next show after this. The next big show after this was a Clash of the Champions. So WCW didn't do pay-per-views every month. They did like 8 or 9 a year. And in between them, they would do Clash of the Champions, which was a live special on TBS. And the Clash of the Champions after this is where Ric Flair turns heel on Sting. Sherry joins him as his manager. And it's also where Zbyszko and Regal wrestle again, and Zbyszko wins the TV title, but he would lose it back to Regal not that long after.
Yeah. After this, promo-wise, I'm not sure if anything happens.
The Terry Funk promo.
Oh, go ahead. Break down the Terry Funk one.
So Okerlund at first teases that they're going to have an interview with Hulk Hogan. There's your Hulk Hogan mention on WCW Saturday Night, which was their main show. This is about a year and 4 months before Nitro was a thing. So there's no Nitro yet.
Is Raw thing yet?
Yeah, Raw started in '93, but WCW's big show was Saturday Night. And Funk comes out and he talks to Okerlund about not coming out in that roll call of legends or at the beginning of the show. Funk says he is an A legend. He's the legend in Philadelphia. The great dangers in Philadelphia are the Schuylkill River, the Shorekill Expressway, and Terry Funk. Which, I guess he didn't want to say Schuylkill twice, so he said the Shorekill Expressway.
Yeah, the Shorekill.
He's going to show everyone
because all the pollution in it.
Which if you're gonna take shots at a river in Philly for being polluted, it's the Delaware River, not the Schuylkill.
Well, I don't know. I doubt this is a thing now. Obviously because of modern technology and water treatment plants and things like that. But I believe the Schuylkill River at one point was sewage. Like
it was into the Delaware River though.
Yeah. It was a sewage river that ran from Schuylkill County straight through Philly. So you guys have been eating our shit for years. Just yingling and shit in that river.
It all just dumps out into the Delaware and it goes to Jersey.
Where it belongs. Where all of our excrement goes.
So yeah, he's going to show everybody he's a hardcore wrestler. He's taking shots at Dusty Rhodes, which is very important. He threatens Dustin Rhodes because the Terry Funk Dusty Rhodes rivalry is an all-time classic. It's two Texas boys that hated each other's guts.
That egg-sucking Dusty Rhodes.
You egg-sucking dog, yeah.
So good. Terry on the mic is a gem.
And Dusty would always call Terry Funk like a chicken thief or something like that.
But Dusty had a good promo earlier on too, where he said,
the pre-record, the
pre-record thing with the green screen of Hollywood in the back, like
yeah. Well, it all feeds into the story, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the next match. Yeah. But before the next match, we also have the Hall of Fame ceremony. Lou Thez is there, and he's doing a lot of the presentation along with Gordon Soley. And your Hall of Fame class here, Harley Race is in the Hall of Fame. At this point, Harley Race is managing Vader still. The Crusher, the aforementioned Crusher. The man who made Milwaukee famous, Ernie Ladd, the big cat Ernie Ladd is one of the inductees. The Assassin. So the Assassin,
the big cat, that kind of went to Ernest Miller then, right?
He was just the cat.
The cat was that because was there ties to that? Like
no, Ernie Ladd. This is a rare appearance of Ernie Ladd in WCW. Ernie Ladd was always more of a WWF guy.
Gotcha.
He was more known there, and they would use him quite a bit there. Ernie Ladd, I think, had passed away even. Oh no, he was still around by the time Ernest Miller comes. So Ernie Ladd's a fascinating guy. Ernie Ladd would be another guy to do a great guy to do a show on. He was a football player first. He played in the AFL. I think he played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I might get the story wrong because it's kind of going off the top of my head, but I know Ernie Ladd. There was something with like an all-star game. And this is in the 1960s, the early 1960s in the South. It might have been like New Orleans or somewhere. And I think him and the rest of his all-star team, the AFL all-star team, were going to refuse to play if they didn't let the black players stay in the same hotel as the white players. So he was another guy that was breaking down color barriers.
I love that.
And I don't know. I want to say he was on the roster for the Chiefs in Super Bowl I, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just looking through. I have like 100 notebooks here, and I know one of them. I I wrote down previous episodes that people recommended to us.
Yeah, Ernie Ladd would be a good one.
We can't find it.
The Assassin was actually a backstage guy at this point. The Assassin is Jody Hamilton. He's actually the father of referee Nick Patrick. And there were actually two assassins. There was him and another. There was a second assassin, which was usually Tom Ernesto. And he wrestled in Alabama as the Flame as well. At this point, I think he may have been managing, or he's about to manage Pretty Wonderful, Orndorff and Roma. But he was with WCW for a long time behind the scenes as an agent, as a producer. Well, they didn't call him producers, but they call him road agents. And then later, he was involved with WWF briefly. Before they opened FCW in Florida, which became NXT, they had developmental territories. The most famous one was OVW. But when they got, they also opened one in, I don't know where exactly, but they opened Deep South Wrestling, which was Larry Hamilton's, who is the Assassin. Ole Anderson's there, and Dick the Bruiser. So a lot of people we cover, the Crusher, Dick the Bruiser, and Ole Anderson are all in this Hall of Fame.
I thought Dick was passed away.
So, it was a posthumous thing. They brought out, I believe, his daughter. Yeah. And so he had passed away, I believe, either that year or the year before. But yeah, they always did one induction of somebody who had passed away. Like I think in 1995 when they did it, it was Big John Studd. Yeah.
Yeah. Great Hall of Fame class. I think Dick the Bruiser for me steals the show. Just kind of hearing him cut
the Crusher
stuff. The Crusher. Sorry, Crusher. Yeah.
So
I did find the list of episodes, by the way, too.
Our next match is the Bull Rope match.
Yes.
Bunkhouse Buck and Dustin Rhodes.
I don't think I've seen the Bunkhouse Bunk match before this.
Yeah, he didn't. This is his real national run. Bunkhouse Buck is Jimmy Golden. He is the real life cousin of Colonel Parker. They are part of this Fuller Welch family.
You know who he reminded me of with his look and his size and his body and the way he conducted himself? He reminded me of Brody Lee.
Okay, Brody I think was a little bigger, like taller, but
watching this match felt like I was watching Cody versus Brody for the TNT title.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that. And he is the only other thing he did nationally, and this was way later. He did one or two appearances on SmackDown in like 2006, 2007 as Jack Swagger's dad.
Okay.
So he did that too. But yeah, he's part of this legendary Fuller Welch family that controlled most of the South in pro wrestling forever until the Jarretts started to encroach and Bill Watts started to encroach.
Yeah.
But yeah, he has a fun match here with Dustin Rhodes. And this is where we get the return of the "We Want Blood" chants. And Heenan says, they say it every day here. A waitress said it to me this morning.
When I was getting my coffee. Yeah.
That was... So yeah, they a lot of wild stuff here. Bunkhouse Buck ties up Dustin Rhodes. There's a ref bump. Colonel Parker's interference backfires, and Dustin Rhodes gets the win. And I had this in my head wrong. I always remember this as Bunkhouse Buck winning this match, but Dustin wins it. And then Terry Funk attacks Dustin afterward and busts him open.
Yeah.
And they get their blood. So this is what I was talking about earlier with all the Terry Funk stuff and the Dusty stuff. So what this leads to is a match at the Clash of the Champions, or no, at the it leads to at the Clash of the Champions. Dusty's still in Hollywood. Dustin Rhodes asks Arn Anderson to be his partner. So it could be Dustin Rhodes and Arn Anderson against Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck. And Arn Anderson, and this is a classic Arn Anderson promo, says, be careful what you ask for. You get Arn Anderson, you're getting Arn Anderson. You're getting the guy that'll slit his mother's throat for a nickel. Like, you're going to get the real thing. You're going to get the real Arn Anderson. And then they have the match, I think, at Bash at the Beach, and Arn Anderson turns on him. Yeah. So what this all leads to is September is Fall Brawl, and Fall Brawl is when they did the War Games. So it's Arn Anderson, Bunkhouse Buck, Terry Funk, and Colonel Parker. The Nasty Boys turn babyface, and they go against the Nasty Boys, Dustin Rhodes, and Dusty finally comes back from Hollywood. I wasn't there for you, but I want to be your partner. It's very much something that Cody played off of in early AEW, and he's like, I want my brother. He's like, if you let this old spindly-legged old man be your partner, baby. He's like, if you've never seen the View Never Changes promo, the kind of springs out of this.
Do you think WWE leans into that soon when Dustin's contract's up?
I would.
I would
I don't know if I don't know if Dustin wants to go to WWF. It's I would definitely kick the tires on. I think it would be a good thing. I think it's funny. I think the more likely scenario might be Arn becoming Cody's manager again.
That's a
because
rumor as well.
Yeah.
Arn supposedly leaving. Mark Henry just left. Dustin's contract's up, and even on the WWE side, Becky didn't resign. Seth still hasn't resigned.
Well, no, Seth has resigned.
Seth did. Ricochet,
Chad Gable, and yeah, with Chad Gable, Ricochet's saying, "I'm not resigning."
Yeah, Natalia not resigning.
We knew that a few years ago.
Yeah,
about Ricochet.
Yeah, we were told. And now people are worried that Samantha Irvin may not stick around which I think
there's so many people there's so many.
You don't have to work with your significant other.
No, in fact, sometimes it's better if you don't.
Especially when you're as hot as you are, you're probably making good WWE money being a ring announcer.
It's also, I mean, she has other stuff going on too. She's a singer. She
if she wants to be a media mogul, TKO is probably the brand you want to work.
It's a good spot for it. But it's not like the old days either, where you're on the road 350 days a year. Like they do shows. You do whatever TV you're doing, whether it's Friday or Monday, and you do shows on the weekend. Like literally, usually you have travel days too, but you usually do get more time off now than you did. Like literally back in the old days, you never got days off. They were running shows every night.
Yep.
So then Okerlund had Red Bastein and Ray the Crippler Stevens were the next two legends they interviewed, and then we get Ric Flair against the 300+ pound, 6'6" blonde former world champion, not Hulk Hogan.
Barry Windham.
Which is funny because the music Parker comes out to is the music they would use later for the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Barry Windham is a former horseman, so it makes it pretty
Here's what I'll say: the two matches on the show.
Fitting.
Obviously, I love this entire card. This entire card was really good. But when you're selling a pay-per-view and you have Ric Flair, and then across from Ric Flair you got Sting, these were the two letdown matches to me. I thought Flair and Barry Windham was good, but it wasn't. If this is someone's first time ever watching a Ric Flair match, it's a disappointment.
Barry Windham had lost a lot of the zip on his fastball.
Yes.
Barry Windham in 1994 is not Barry Windham in 1987. Because there are some amazing Ric Flair Barry Windham matches if you seek them out. Like there a few of them on Flair's DVDs. But Barry Windham at this point hasn't been wrestling regularly. Really around 1992 is the last you get like peak Barry Windham, and not even peak, like just very, very good Barry Windham, and then it starts to tail off. And at this
Flair
point,
wins, gets his belt, gets the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, he knew it was kind of rough.
Yeah.
And then we get Mean Gene Okerlund with Don Curtis and the Crusher. We're not gonna have one beer, we're gonna have a dozen beer.
Dance some the polka.
Oh, the
big
Crusher.
Cigar sticking out of his mouth.
The Crusher would have been so over in Philadelphia if he wasn't in Milwaukee. He would have been Philadelphia's favorite son.
Yep.
Then we get a promo.
Go ahead. Promo.
No, go for it.
I'll say that next because you said I said Philadelphia's own, but that'll come after
this
promo. Yeah.
So now we get a quick video promo from Flyers legend Dave the Hammer Schultz. So there's so many different Dave Schultzes that are kind of wrestling adjacent. You had the amateur wrestler Dave Schultz, who was murdered by John DuPont right outside of Philadelphia. Then you had Dr. D Dave Schultz to slap John Stossel. This is legendary hockey enforcer, member of the Broad Street Bullies, Dave the Hammer Schultz, who was
real quick. One of my favorite we fucked up moments of all time as us as friends is when you brought up the DuPont thing to Kurt Angle.
Oh yeah. Hey, remember when your friend died?
And he literally looks and goes, "Yeah, I was actually supposed to be on a plane that day. I would have been there that morning."
I knew he was supposed to be there. That's why I brought up. I didn't know he was supposed to be there the next day. Yeah.
He was supposed to be there the day it happened. But his flight got messed up and he was never there that day. So there's another universe where Kurt Angle was part of that murder.
Yeah,
We didn't know that, obviously,
Yeah,
when we, yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Well,
Crazy.
I knew he was very good friends with Dave Schultz. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Dave Schultz was like a huge
And
name in wrestling. He was like one of the best.
Kurt was
American
not having a
wrestlers
good day that day anyway. He was fucking freezing cold. His body hurt. He was just not.
That was a cold day.
It was a bad day for
It was
Kurt.
the day I became best friends with Jimmy Hart.
Yes, Jimmy Hart and Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund fell in love
And
with
Bob
us that
Backlund,
day.
yeah.
He wouldn't
And
leave
Bob
us alone, and I didn't care about it. Actually, who were you with that day? Who were you?
It was a fun day. It was very cold, but that was a fun day.
Who were you?
I was with VSK and YouTube star Maven.
That's right. That's right. And then I was supposed to be with Mike and Maria, but they were an hour and a half late. So I was recruited, hand-picked BP by Mercedes Martinez, and I wasn't upset by it.
Yeah. No, Mercedes Martinez was awesome.
Love her.
Mercedes
Love her.
Martinez was awesome.
And Bob
Maven
VSK.
Well, VSK I still see all the time.
Oh, VSK is amazing. Yeah. Bob Backlund put me in like 3 chokeholds that night.
That was the first time. That was the first time I was at like VSK's table, and then I just became the guy that worked VSK's gimmick table. Like I swear, VSK and I were at like joined at the hip at the gimmick tables for like 4 months there, and that was around the time that you started bringing Leo Sparrow around, and that's how we first met Leo.
Yeah, love VSK is an unsung hero. I always wanted him on the podcast, but that guy's a busy man. Yeah,
he's got.
All right,
so
we got Flair versus Wyndham. Flair goes over on this one. Not the greatest. Now we have the tag team title match. Falls Count Anywhere.
Broad Street Bully
match. And hockey legend own first ever Stanley Cup championship for the Philadelphia Flyers. And
still the only two Stanley Cup champions for the Flyers. So there's a great story about the this match with Dave Schultz. Is he was kind of nervous backstage because he's like, I don't know how to throw a fake punch. And if you watch this match, there's not a single fake punch thrown in this match.
Yeah, they put him in the ring with people who can take some real ones.
Yeah, you know who else didn't know how to throw a fake punch? The Nasty Boys.
Nasty Boys.
So there's this whole thing where like Dave Schultz is nervous backstage, and he's asking like, how do you throw a fake punch? I don't want to mess this up. And they're like, just hit us. And then he just relaxed, had a few beers, and it was all fun and games.
And then hit him.
Yeah.
Weird move, because the whole time I'm thinking Cactus Jack is like, I didn't realize he was the baby face here, because I thought the entire time should he be banned, and then Sully comes out in the Phillies jersey, and now knowing that the Nasty Boys are from PA, I thought they would have been like the boys.
They bill him as being from New York City, if you notice. They bill him as being from New York City.
Yeah,
the nastiest streets from New York. They're not going to say they're from Allentown. And then Brian Knobs is a gigantic Eagles fan. So the thing here is that the match was originally supposed to be not involve Cactus Jack. He was actually going to get his ear fixed from when he got ripped off by Vader. And so the match was supposed to be there. Kevin Sullivan had a kayfabe brother here, Dave Sullivan. He's the guy that comes out on crutches at the very end. It was actually Evad Sullivan, but they said he was dyslexic, so they called him Dave Sullivan. And he was this guy who was the equalizer for that, just like a generic heel. But then they said he was Dave Sullivan. He was like this very childlike. He was almost like a Eugene type character, to put it sensitively. He had like a pet rabbit for a while, Ralph the Rabbit, and he later, like shortly after this, he becomes like Hulk Hogan's like mascot almost. He's like the world's biggest Hulkamaniac. Like that's his whole gimmick, but he had a legit injury, and so they couldn't do the Nasty Boys against Kevin and Dave Sullivan, so they bring in Cactus Jack, and the rest is history. And yeah, Cactus Jack is very much a babyface here,
and Tony Schiavone is crying laughing this entire match because they are beating the shit out of each other. They're gassed within the first 3 minutes because they're throwing live rounds the whole time.
Yeah, and this is all an offshoot of this is that ECW all around the building brawl. It's not, and it actually starts in Memphis. It actually starts in Memphis with the legendary Tupelo concession stand brawl, and just that kind of thing. And the Nasty Boys did a lot of this. They did it with Cactus Jack and Max Payne. They did it with this match. They did it with Public Enemy when Public Enemy came to WCW. But yeah, these were always
that
fun.
we covered in the show
were...
where he hit him in the face with a table
and a shovel. He hit him in the head with a shovel.
Yeah, crazy.
This match is just
after
insanity.
meeting the Nasty Boys, like I loved meeting the Nasty Boys. Like they were funny. Like they were roasting Marty Jannetty the whole time.
Oh, they were great. Yeah,
yeah. They were fun people to sit at the table with. Yeah.
So
did
yeah,
you talk about Marty Jannetty dumping milk on a girl? He like dumped milk all over.
Yeah, no,
telling the
because
story.
Jannetty was there. We were talking about the AWA. Yeah, there's something about the AWA because Jannetty and Sags were both the AWA. But anyway, this is a wild brawl all over the place. The Nasty Boys make the mistake of picking a fight with Dave Schultz. I remember reading something in a wrestling magazine at this point. Somebody said, like, much like his hockey career, Dave Schultz was carrying a hockey stick for no particular reason. Because he wasn't there to play hockey. He was there to fight.
He's a fighter.
Like, he was just there to fight.
How much of the selling after the match was legit and how much of it was just selling?
Oh, a story about that. As I was leaving the building, they go through this big set of steps and all these hallways and stuff to get out of the building. And I walked by Jerry Sags on a stretcher, like obvious. And now that I think back, it's like, well, he's probably getting checked out, and then they didn't even realize it's like, oh, people are going to be walking by here. Like Jerry Sags was like laid out on a stretcher in front of people leaving the building at the end of the night.
I was like, he's selling way too long. I was like, are they selling at the hockey stick because it was David Schultz's hockey stick was like that strong? But
no,
like,
Sags,
I he's legit.
I think Sags got hurt on the guitar shot. He got hit right in the neck.
Yeah,
I think that's where Sags got hurt.
Yeah. Real
and
quick,
then,
too,
yeah,
did you see the Young Bucks shoes?
I did not.
So the Young Bucks have a new shoe by Reebok. Wrestlers are getting shoe deals now, which is super exciting. I saw
the Roman Reigns sneaker got canceled.
So Roman's shoe got canceled. Yeah, so the only shoe on the market right now is the Young Bucks shoe. But soon there is a Swerve Strickland shoe coming.
Oh, nice.
Which your boys, I'm buying. If there's a wrestler shoe, I'm buying it. I think it's important that wrestlers are getting shoe deals. And even if I don't like the wrestler, I'm buying it to show love to wrestling shoes. But when the Young Bucks do that graffiti paint splash black with the vibrant neon colors, it immediately brings me to the Nasty Boys. And that's why one of the reasons why I love Young Bucks stuff is they lean into that Nasty Boys look. And the shoes, if you just took the Young Bucks off the shoe, they look like Nasty Boy shoes.
That's awesome.
What are
commentators going to start to get shoes? I want a shoe deal.
Let's get shoe deals. I think if this show keeps growing the way it's growing, we'll get shoe deals. What brand of shoe do you think you would rock?
I'm old now. I'm old and out of shape. I'm all.
Do we get like New Balances? Because do we get new commentary gets a New Balance deal?
Yeah. Commentary gets Skechers
with the Velcro. Do we get Velcro like orthopedic shoes?
Velcro Skechers. No, slip-ons. Skechers slip-ons.
I want a slip-on. If I get a shoe deal, I want a fucking slip-on. Vans would be dope, but I think Vans is too cool for us. I think we're commentary. We get what we get. Like whatever Payless is selling today, that's the deal we're getting.
Yeah, it's.
I'll tell you what. Shoes. I fucking N1 is in Walmart now. I have a shot. I can have my own N1 shoe. Yeah. This match was a lot of fun. Anything after the match leading into the main event?
We had Luthez and Vern Gagne. So you had the old time NWA champion, the old time AWA champion. They're all like just kind of aghast at what just happened in that match. Luthez having to watch that match is like that's going to be his personal hell. And actually Vern Gagne too, because Vern Gagne's like that. Vern Gagne's whole thing was, and this is an old Marty Jannetty story. I think it was in Mankind's book. He talked about how Vern Gagne was one of those guys. Well, that's what it says on the marquee, wrestling. You came here to wrestle. And Marty Jannetty did a Vern impression once where he just, instead of saying wrestling, he just said fucking every time. Back in my day, we knew how to fuck.
Marty's an idiot. I love him. All right, main event: Sting versus Vader.
Yep, and this is for the
numerous times. This is the only time I like Sting really in his career. Surfer Sting is my thing. Sting. I wasn't a big fan of Crow Sting.
No, this is the Sting I like too. There are a bunch of Sting Vader pay-per-view matches. Unfortunately, they're all probably a little better than this one.
This one was not as great. Too much gaga, not enough what they can actually do.
And part of it is no, because they knew each other really well, and it wasn't like things were super choreographed back then like they are now. It was a match they did on short notice. It was supposed to be Vader and Rick Rude. I don't know what the hell Sting was supposed to do on this show, but it was supposed to be Vader and Rick Rude.
Sting always is that break glass in case of emergency guy. Like he's leaned on as a top guy, but never is leaned on as a top guy if Flair or Hogan are there.
Well, yeah,
if you need someone to step up, Sting's your guy. Sting's kind of like Seth Rollins.
Yeah, Sting at this point was about to get brought down a little bit because Hogan's coming in, and Hogan's got to be the be-all, end-all. But and then at the end of this year, Randy Savage is coming in, so now Sting's kind of like the number 3 babyface. And like by 1995, he's like feuding with Big Bubba, and he's feuding with. He did have a fun match with Regal, I believe. It might have been before this though, but yeah, Sting is going to wind up being in the mix with Vader for a little bit, and then at the end of the year, I think he's with Hogan because Savage isn't there yet, and he winds up wrestling at Starrcade Avalanche, who was the former Earthquake.
Yeah. Is it a common occurrence for Vader? I mean, in WWE, I'd never seen him do it, but like taking his mask off, half mask, or his mask coming off.
Sometimes he would do that every now and then, not all the time. The funny thing with that was when Kane was relatively new, and they did Vader and Kane in a mask versus mask match. Like, oh no, Vader might lose his mask, and then he takes off his mask. And that's what he does that whole interview. He's like, "Oh, just a big fat piece of shit. Maybe Vader chops over."
Yeah, Vader. I grew up with Vader in WWE, and I thought he was a joke. And then watching Vader everywhere else but WWE, I'm like, oh, he was a big deal. Yeah.
No, Vader had just come off the end of the year before this, the end of '93, maybe one of the best WCW shows ever was Starrcade '93, and that's where he loses the WCW title for the last time to Flair. So Vader's really. He had a small feud with the Boss, the Guardian Angel at that point. And then in the future here, Vader is going to kind of spin his wheels for a little bit. And then in early 95, he does a program with Hogan. But yeah, Vader, especially like this era of Vader and a little before this was a bad man. Like literally he was one of the problems was he was hurting a lot of people. He ended Nikita Koloff's career. He broke Joe Thurman's back. He hurt a bunch of people, but he worked that high impact style. He worked like a very high impact style.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up this pay-per-view. BP, what do you think of this overall show, and how does it age today?
For that time, it ages pretty well. I was a big fan of looking back of pre-Hogan. It's weird to say this, but pre-Hogan Bischoff era WCW. Which is especially around this time because they're really, I think Flair was they had a booking committee. I think Flair was the head of it, so they were doing some good stuff here. I mean, it's still okay with Hogan, but Hogan is kind of front and center on everything, and Hogan brings with him, like as Hogan's coming in, here comes the Honky Tonk Man, here comes Hacksaw Jim Duggan, here comes Earthquake. So there's
all the people willing to lose to him to make him look awesome.
Well, Jim Duggan didn't lose. Jim Duggan actually. Very famously, shortly after this, Vader, or shortly after this, Steve Austin loses the U.S. title to Ricky Steamboat. But Ricky Steamboat had an injury, was basically a career-ending injury. So he forfeits the title back to Steve Austin. And then Hacksaw Jim Duggan debuted at Fall Brawl and beat Steve Austin in like
How was Steve Austin and Ricky Steamboat in a match? Is that a good match?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I gotta look that. What show that happened at?
That was at a Clash of the Champions. I don't know if it was the one right after this or I don't know if it was the one right after this or the one in August. I think it was the one right after this. Another interesting match. I think it was the one in August. I don't know what number it was, but I think the one in August has the match with Lord Steven Regal and Antonio Inoki. Inoki came over for a match.
I gotta look that up. I've never seen Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Steve Austin. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I think they worked it in one of the games, one of the 2K games. Like the showcase mode was about Steve Austin, And I think they worked it into one of the games because I remember his
That would be All Stars, Superstars. It was like a really, really arcadey kitty.
No, it wasn't All Stars. It was one of the 2K games.
Oh, okay.
But you know how they do like play through the guy's career? They did one with Steve Austin. And one of the WCW matches is him and Steamboat. And I remember because they have the trunks. It's like the ones he has here where it's like black trunks, but it has like writing on the back. But instead of saying US champ, it said Dragon Slayer.
Got you. I have to look into that. I didn't know that was a match.
Oh yeah. Steve Austin was pretty prolific. Like he was known as like a workhorse. He even says like when he first came into WWF, like they brought him in as a mechanic, like a guy who was there to have good matches, and then he shoots off into the stratosphere.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for Slamboree 94. Great episode.
Fun show. B+ show. Slamboree 94.
I would say B+. I'm with that. Yeah. I didn't. There was not a match on it. I mean, there was some match I expected more of, but I didn't think I hated anything on the show.
It's a very easy to watch show.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. Let us, if you guys watched it alongside of us here, let us know what you thought of it in the chat or in the comments below. We're going to give you a quick rundown of what to expect the next couple weeks of Tornado Tag.
Yeah.
First one, we're going to kick off next Sunday. Tornado Tag presents What If series. We're going to kick off the What If series next Sunday with what if Ric Flair is in the WWF in 1998. So we're going to kind of break down. What's that?
1988.
Oh, sorry, 1988, 98. That wouldn't make any sense. 88. We're going to break down what was happening in 88 and what actually happened. And then BP will break down his fantasy what if going into that. And I cannot fucking wait.
That's going to be a fun one.
The following week, which will be the one where we're going to determine probably behind the scenes here whether it's going to happen on a Friday night or if we're going to push it till like Tuesday of the 25th. One of those days will have to work, but it will happen. We're going to do a movie review. Body Slam.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. Body Slam. A guilty pleasure of mine. This is one you can play along with. Some of the jokes have not aged well. There's some language in this movie, especially this month, that I would rather not be in the movie. It was of its time, and it is so 80s. It is so unbelievably 80s. You can watch it for free on Tubi TV. It's a movie that I have always had a very soft spot for. It is Body Slam is a Rowdy Roddy Piper vehicle. It's starring Dirk Benedict, who was face on the A-Team. He was the original Starbuck on Battlestar Galactica. And basically he is a very shady, very kind of smooth talking music promoter, music manager, who winds up inadvertently becoming a manager in professional wrestling. And hilarity ensues. It's a bad movie, but it's a bad movie that's fun.
Yeah. To end the month of June on the 29th, we'll be doing a bio, the history of Abdullah the Butcher. Then to carry on in July, we'll be doing a show review to kick us off for King of the Ring 95. And then following that,
I'm doing this so you have to watch it. Now you'll know my pain because you'll have to watch this show.
And then following that show review, we're going to do a what if. What if King of the Ring 95 was good?
Yeah, we're going to rebuild the show and make it good.
And then maybe lead into some storylines that could have been enhanced or changed completely. Now, here's some things, BP, I was looking at that people want. Obviously, in the chat, people are saying wrestling family episodes. We did the Von Erichs. We just talked about an Armstrong family episode.
The Armstrong episode would be fun.
Yeah, so we talked about a Bloodline episode. We talk about maybe some Bloodline people.
You need to do
Ernie Ladd was talked about tonight.
Bloodline episode.
Bret Hart has been talked about for a solo episode, so we could do a Bret Hart episode, and then we could do a Hart family episode.
Yeah.
China is on the list. Eddie Guerrero, which then we can turn into a Guerrero family episode. Sheik is on the list. Nick Bockwinkel on the list. Bruno Sammartino on the list. Adrian Sheet on the list.
Adrian
Street on the list. Yeah. And then I still want the history of different belts. There you go. So we just added more to the list. So that's
Right
kind
on.
of what we have cooking up. But we did write down wrestling families and belt history. We have more stuff coming.
Oh, yeah.
This is probably the only weekly show you can bank on. You're not always going to get a movie review, and not always going to get an interview, but you can always guarantee that Tornado Tag will be coming at least once a week. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Should we give a preview of something that we talked about before the episode, or we wait till it's done and complete it in the whole nine?
Go for it.
All right. Ruda Entertainment is cooking some stuff up when it comes to a solo thing for myself. I want to. It's not going to happen right away. I'm going to set up a whole thing behind the scenes with Ruda because I can't just buy one. I have to buy two, and I want me and BP to walk around in pride as the guys who have been holding up this show for a very long time, and I'm very proud and I'm very thankful for BP for sticking by my side through pretty much not just as a content creator, but just life in general. I could always lean on BP and vice versa. So we're going to be developing title belts for the podcast, and these are going to be belts that we're going to put on display, maybe take with us to shows.
Other podcasts.
Yeah, and we're gonna fight other podcasts now, but we're gonna bring them to shows that people can take photos with them. But it's gonna be something that I think a lot of podcasts do, but we're gonna be a lot different because we're getting them made by Ruda Entertainment. And if you want belts, if you want your own custom belt that maybe WWE shop can't do, or maybe they do a thin metal, or just the millimeter thins are too small, or maybe you wanted to say the old WWF logo and not the new one, Ruda Entertainment is the place to go for all your belt needs, whether you want to get replica belts or your own custom belts. So I asked BP, what's your favorite set of tag team titles? And we both agreed the classic WWE titles are our favorites. So for the first gen, because I'm going to be honest, BP, we're going to do this again in probably like 3 or 4 years or maybe 2 years. We're going to do this again with the AEW tag team titles because I think they're gorgeous as well. And I definitely would love to rip those off because I think I think AEW titles are fucking good looking. I'm sorry. I think they're good looking. But anyway, here it is. This is not the finished product. This is just a prototype. But everything you'll see except the main thing on the belt will be in gold, not color. But this will be the first preview of what to expect soon. It'll say the TWF, Tantalizing Wrestling Federation. Ruda's logo will be inside those crowns. The Tornado Tag will be dead center there. And then our side plates will say Tornado Tag and ABJ Podcast logo with that ABJ Classic WWE logo taking over those WWE logos. So, yeah, we are going to get our own set of Tornado Tag Podcast belts. And
the most devastating foreign object in wrestling too is a title belt.
And we're hitting everybody with it. You talk shit, you're getting cracked with a fucking belt. That's all there is to it. Yeah, the US title is definitely still that will, if we do a belt history, that'll be the first one we do. Is the US
that one has a long and winding history too, because if you go back pre WCW, if you go back to Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, that was their main belt because the world champion traveled. The US title was the title.
Yeah, so very, very excited. And thank you guys so much for the continued support, hanging out with us tonight, even though we were going head-to-head with NXT. I know our numbers aren't the greatest because NXT is going on. So if you check out the replay, make sure you follow us on all podcast platforms. We haven't been ranked in the top 250 on Apple or any of those platforms for a while. So subscribe to the ABJ podcast on all podcast platforms and help us out with those audio listens. Make sure you're listening to the platform. Also, huge thank you to High Tension Wrestling Network for supporting us and putting us on their channel. So make sure you head over to their High Tension Wrestling Network.
Coming up in July, right?
They do. Yeah, they got some stuff coming up in July. And so follow them for all the information. But also watch some of their content. The whole reason why we're going live on their channel as well is to help them get their watch hours so they can get their monetization goals. If you can, I would ask you guys if you can sign up for a membership on the podcast. That would be amazing. That is available. Patreon is available. So if maybe the tier level on YouTube is not what you want, you can go to Patreon and set your own tier level. Also coming soon, maybe an OnlyFans. Just saying, it's coming. Okay. You're not going to see what you think you're going to see on there. I'm not going to announce what you're going to see on there yet, but it won't be what you think. It will not be me in any facet, shape, or form, but maybe interviews with people in different industries that cannot be talked to or openly on the YouTube side of things.
Okay, that's
so it'll be interviews with people who I feel deserve a voice as well, but maybe the content isn't as friendly on the YouTube platforms or the other platforms. So that platform will be a platform that people can come and do interviews, or maybe bonus episodes that you don't see will be on the OF side of things. And I think it's kind of funny that I have one. So
you can get one of those decals to your car that follow me on OnlyFans or subscribe to my
100. I already have logos. T Public, once again, all the logos are on T Public. So we should be the only podcast you're listening to. That's right. I said it. We'll see you guys on the next one. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We'll see you soon. This is an ABJ podcast production. Join us. Would you kindly join us at the Cult of ABJ Discord community? We'll see you there. Join us.